I want you guys to do better because these are local people. These are not multi-million, multi-billion dollar corporations. These are mom and pop shops down the street. So we say, hey, we can get you on TV. It's not as expensive as you think, and it'll help your business and help you grow as owners and people. And I kind of take a lot of joy in that because I see myself as the little guy. I feel like I'm the underdog in what I do in life. So if I can help out the underdog, why not?
Going to NABJ has always brought black people together. It's allowed us to work and connect and network with like-minded people that look like you. It also allows you to put names to Twitter faces. And for my next guest, it allowed me to do that. JB, as he is on Twitter, Adidas King 5. His name is written as Uncle JB, Jamal Brown. And I have been Twitter friends for quite some time. But we finally got a chance to meet each other at NABJ 19 in Miami. And, stay connected. Well, the gentleman comes from the advertising side of the network. So he comes on today to talk about his career and the importance of being, as he says, the underdog and helping build up other people, helping people succeed. And he also shares his story about what and how great NABJ was to him, especially going into this field after leaving the gridiron. So ladies and gentlemen, here's my conversation with Jamal Brown. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this week I got a good brother, a good NABJ brother of mine joining me on Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. And on Twitter you may know him as Uncle JB, or you may know him as Adidas King 5, but to the professionals out there, you know him as the good Jamal Brown. What's up, bro? How you feeling?
I feel great. I appreciate the intro. Sometimes my Twitterness gets me into a few predicaments.
Oh, for real? Why is that?
I'm very outspoken, you could say, and to specific people, athletes in particular, if I believe I can do better than you, I will let you know.
Oh man, that's hilarious. So before we get into that, so how'd you come up with the name Adidas King? Is that your favorite shoes?
Well,
Adidas King 5, I should say.
Well, 5 is my number. Like most athletes, we all have a special number attached to us. And Adidas is actually my only brand. It's what I wear all the time.
Oh, okay. Any
So,
attachments to the number 5?
So it all started in Little League when I was a running back for the longest. And my dad was like, hey, I think you should look into Reggie Bush. And when he was at USC, and I saw Reggie Bush and I was in awe. Like that man was crazy. So I took up 5 as kind of to honor him. And then I just kind of looked into it and got way deeper than I probably should have. And I made up my own mentality and my own thought process of why I deserve to wear 5. Like I came up to the point that it's my birthright and I will use 5 for everything.
I like that, man. I definitely like that. You talk about Reggie Bush, when I was never the biggest college football fan. As a matter of fact, to be honest with you, I'm boycotting it right now. I know my boycott doesn't mean much, but for me, I refuse to watch it if kids aren't getting paid during a pandemic. It's an extracurricular activity, especially when so many other people are putting their lives at risk. But Reggie was my first favorite college football player. Just to watch him on the field, like the same thing you saw, the explosiveness. And dare say, people may say he didn't, but I think he had a successful NFL career. I mean, he got a Super Bowl. Of course, we wanted to see him come in there and break records and be that household name. When he was drafted by the Saints, we wanted to see him be what, Alvin Kamara is, or what Mark Ingram was. But I think he had a solid NFL career. What you think?
He definitely had a solid NFL career. We People think if you're not an all-time great or you're not a Hall of Famer, you can't say you had a successful career. For one, anyone who makes the NFL is successful. There's 1,200 players in the league, I want to say. If that might be a little high, but to think of, there's thousands of college players and even probably hundreds of thousands of high school players that will never get to put on the pads again after high school, after college. So to say you made it to the NFL and to be the number 2 draft pick, he should have been number 1. The Texans are still kicking themselves for that.
Yep.
But he had a plenty successful career. It was decent. The man made probably $25 million. So I don't know anyone who made $25 million as unsuccessful.
Hmm. Now, when you talked about putting the pads on for a final time, before we got on the air, you said you played basketball and football. When did you play? What levels did you play, and when did you know that you wouldn't be doing it professionally?
So football wise, I have an interesting journey.
Hmm.
So I started off at my little NAIA school in the middle of West Texas, in the middle of nowhere, called Wayland Baptist University. And, shout out to my Wayland Baptist pioneers. I'll never say ill of them. It just living out there
I
wasn't for
feel
me.
like I heard of that before.
I get that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I don't
People
know.
have
I feel like I have, and I'm all the way in Baltimore.
see, maybe just, but yeah, they're gonna hold a special place in my heart because they're one of the few schools that wanted to take a chance with me out of high school. And as a guy who wasn't heavily recruited, didn't get a lot of balls, so that means something to me. I'm a receiver, by the way, so balls are kind of important.
Hmm.
So from there, I decided, you know what, living out here isn't for me, but I don't want to give up on this game. This is all I know and what I love. So I went to JUCO. I went to Cisco Junior College. So after a semester at Cisco, I didn't have a good spring, and they said we're not going to need your services come fall. So if you're not playing football, there's no reason, especially for a black man, to be in Cisco, Texas. No reason whatsoever. So I was down, I was upset, I was depressed to a degree. And my dad was like, you can literally go anywhere. I graduated in top 11% of my class. I could have gone to Harvard out of high school if I really wanted to, but I know I'm lazy and I wouldn't have lasted in no Ivy League school. But I told him, look, my dreams are dead. I'm going to go where dreams going to die. And that's for me, University of North Texas, ironically. But there, I had an opportunity to walk on. They have a pretty good walk on program. So I actually made the team. And I was one of like 4 walk-ons who actually did. And because we were walk-ons, me and those guys are still great friends to this day. So I played a spring and a half there, and me and my receiver coach just didn't get along. I would I would make mistakes, and it would be World War III with me. But when the other guys made mistakes, I definitely could see, and the other guys saw they didn't come down as hard. So eventually I had to ask him, why do you talk to me like that? He was like, personally, I don't think you should be here. Like, oh, I didn't like that. So I still had a decent spring there. It's not like I had a bad spring. But after I was benched for no fault of my own, I told him, you know what? I don't need this. I have a good GPA. I know where I want to go in life. So as much as I love this game, I don't need it.
Did you ever consider trying one more school, just one more shot at playing the game?
I thought about it so much all the time, but it's something that actually my first receiver coach told me when I left Wayland. If you don't set your roots down anywhere, not only will you not get to grow as a football player, you won't get to grow as a person.
Okay.
So I always kept that in mind. And then it gave me the thought of, I don't want to go to school in the middle of nowhere just to play football again. Like, I love football, but I want to enjoy my youth, and I want to be able to enjoy going to college. And going to school in the middle of East Texas in the woods just didn't appeal to me at the time.
Yeah.
So I thought about it and I just thought, you know what? Let's focus on my academic and my post playing career now.
Wow, man. Well, it shows a level of maturity because, and I think I see it more with basketball now. I see a lot of people who will play in so many different leagues, but still
Mhm.
trying to get a shot. And it's no disrespect to them, but it's like you'll see them playing in their church leagues going super hard
Yeah.
as if they get paid. And it's because they never got like that final itch. You know, I'm a huge wrestling fan. I see a lot of times where wrestlers, they never had that last match. And Ric Flair talks about it, retiring, and it's essentially it's until literally the business rejects them or their body says no.
No.
And it sounds like you saw things. When did you decide your next plans as far as your career? You said you had to get your roots, you had to get rooted somewhere so you could grow as a person. When did you
Mhm.
decide, as to say, your plan B?
So I always knew what I wanted, what I had a knack for. I always had a good tongue on me. I was good with making people listen. I'm decently funny. So I thought I like selling things. I'll go into advertisement. So originally at UNT, I was in the business school because just off the top of your head, that's where you think advertisement goes.
Mhm.
So they told no, out of order. So I went to my business calc class. I lasted a class and a half. And that first class was syllabus day. So that should really tell you. After that half a class, I said, this is not for me. I don't know what is going on. They might as well be speaking Chinese, and I don't understand Chinese. I like Japanese better. So I dropped that class. So I went to my counselor at the end of the semester. She said, you had a really good semester. Now you only have 8 more math classes to go. And in my mind, I said, whoa, you got 8 math classes to go. I'm not doing that. So she said, what do you really want to do? I want to go into advertisement. Oh, you can do that in the journalism school here. Why did no one tell me this when I transferred?
Mhm.
So that's when I got my start in the journalism school at UNT, which is the Mayborn School of Journalism. And I got a random email that from the NABJ chapter, like they do for every meeting. And I went, and you could say the rest is history.
So, what year were you when you joined NABJ?
I was a sophomore.
Okay. Now, did you go to the conference right away, or was it after you graduated?
Oh no, my first conference was Detroit in 2018, I want to believe.
Yep, 2018. That's the one I missed.
Okay, I actually went to our regional conference in Atlanta
Mhm.
earlier that spring. Then I went to Detroit that summer, and it was literally the greatest experience I've ever had.
Before you
Like,
get to that though, can you talk about the importance of the regional conference? Because I think a lot of people skip it.
mhm,
And I was set to go this year. COVID happened.
of
Funny thing,
course.
I'm in region one, and that was gonna be held in Pittsburgh, which as the time we're recording, the Ravens will play that team from up north uh this week. But I was set to go there, and I was actually going to be on a panel talking about podcasting on a budget. But then COVID happened. So, matter of fact, I will actually be on a regional panel virtually this month, well, November. So, you just talk about your experience at the regional conference.
So the regional conference was almost as great as the national conference. Obviously, bigger people, bigger budget for the national. But what really made Region 3 conference in Atlanta special because condensed. It was all at home. They were all quote unquote local people, as local as you can get being 10 states apart. But you meet people who can have more of an immediate impact with you. Because, like you said, you're in Baltimore at the moment. You can help me as much as you can, but you're also across the country, probably 1,200 miles away, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
opposed to someone who may be a state over or maybe in your state. Because in your region, we're all basically in the South, depending on what you want to consider the South, but that's a different argument. And I met some of the guys and women who became not only my journalism peers, but my actual friends. Like I call them my Atlanta people, my Georgia State people. And without the regional conference, I would have no frame of reference or anyone to speak to at a national conference. And you basically have to start over from scratch, opposed to having someone there who you're familiar with, who can tell you, hey, have you met so and so? Or are you going to this panel? I think you should go to this one because it helped me and we're in similar things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where it also helps you know another city, because Atlanta is another hub of American history, especially Black American history, and it's a hub of young people who can get together, which is kind of the purpose for the student chapters.
Absolutely. Now, you go to Detroit, it's your first time. It sounds like it's exceeded expectations. What's some of your memories from Detroit? And did you get a chance to go to Canada?
Yes, yes, I did. Canada is another funny story of how I almost got deported
Oh no.
again.
Again.
Again, I need to stop going international places because the U.S. obviously doesn't want me to come back. But the point of Detroit definitely exceeded expectations because a lot of people had the same sense of who wants to go spend a week in Detroit?
Hmm.
Of like all the cities in America we have access to, who wants to go to Detroit? And I was making the joke for weeks. What am I gonna do in my downtime? Go have rap battles at 8 Mile?
I heard some people that was interested in Detroit, though. I will say,
And there's a few. It's just
but you know what
wouldn't
it
pop up.
was too. It was the fact that Miami was up next,
Yeah,
and
and I
the
think
year before
that
was
got a
New
lot of people.
Orleans. So
Yes,
you throw Detroit
exactly.
in the middle. It's like some people were saying. I remember the conversation in New Orleans was, "Hey, see you in Detroit." Yeah, or I might save my money for Miami.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was blown away not only by the conference, but by the city. Downtown Detroit is amazing.
Hmm.
I loved every minute of it. And of course, I'd never been to a national conference before, so I had no idea what to expect from the opening party, which was great, and then seeing all the panels and how organized things were, how complicated that hotel was to get around. It was not easy. We
Oh
were
no.
all confused. But some of the simple things of just going down to the lobby later at night and seeing all these professionals and people I see on TV, and they're just hanging out, being regular people. And me, I'm a college student, and they're still saying, "Hi, what's up? Come holler at me for a minute." Like, I see you have a Chargers lanyard. You're a Charger fan? Where are you from? I only know like four of those. And that's not a joke. I do only know like four Charger fans.
Why the Chargers?
It goes back to that number 5 thing I was talking about. My favorite running back growing up was LT.
Oh, okay, okay. So I've always I'm gonna sound like an old man here. I've always had a problem with him having that nickname.
Because of Lawrence Taylor. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, why couldn't they call him LD or LDT?
Your guess is as good as mine. I was like 8. I didn't understand. I
But
probably didn't know who Lawrence Taylor was.
he may, but in all honesty, though, I, mm, he may have been the last. No, I gotta say Peterson's probably the last one, but before him, the last great running back of longevity that was box office. Frank Gore was
Yes.
great. Frank Gore ain't box office. Let's not kid ourselves. He's just
Yes.
a hard worker who's consistent. He's like Tim Duncan versus LeBron James. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Duncan wasn't box office. Great player. One of the best, probably the best in his position. But he wasn't saying Tim Duncan and I'm gonna go see him unless you were a Spurs fan. That's how Frank Gore was. LaDainian Thomas said, "Oh, you was turning on the game to watch him."
Oh, believe me, the Frank Gore thing fits perfectly. My dad is a huge 49ers fan and always has been. But you're spot on. Like Frank, most people wouldn't know. Frank Gore is third on the all-time rushing list.
Mm-hmm.
Third. But when you think of the all-time rushing list, you think Emmitt Smith, Jim Brown, Adrian Peterson, I believe is top 10 now. But those guys are miles, talent-wise, miles ahead of Frank Gore.
Yeah. I
But
was happy I got to see Peterson play last year. I was working the Washington versus Giants final game of the season. And it was like, hey, I remember when we were the same age. So I remember when he made his announcement on TV that he was going to where he was going to college. And it was like right there, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be my guy. Just because, it was like, oh, it's somebody same age. But so you was a Chargers fan, and that was the icebreaker for a lot of stuff at NABJ. When you was it overwhelming when you go back, like when you first got there? Were you overwhelmed, and did you travel in groups, or did you kind of go by yourself?
I was absolutely overwhelmed for probably the whole first day.
Okay.
Like it's a lot of things going on at once, and there's a lot of people, and everyone's in suits. It just makes you think, wow, does my suit look okay? I only wear suits like 10 times a year, so I barely know how to wear one. So yeah, for the most part, we did travel in groups. Like a good chunk of my chapter came with me, and we were there's safety in numbers. It makes you feel stronger. But there are definitely times where I decided, you know what? I played ball my whole life. I thrive in chaos. I should venture off and explore some things by myself, because I'm naturally kind of a lone wolfer if you don't force me. So I do tend to wander off and just kind of disappear into the crowd. But I think that was good for me to kind of feel myself for the conference outside of my friend group, because all of us are in slightly different variations. One of them is in PR, one of my friends is an award-winning photographer. So we're not exactly going to the same places.
Mhm. I think that's the good thing. I always try to tell students. So my first time was Orlando in 2013,
Ooh,
and I had just graduated. Oh man, that was great. So I've been to Orlando, New Orleans, Miami, and the DC party in 2016.
uh,
Orlando's in a class by itself because of the first one. And man, they gave us a card, free tickets to Disney World. We could just you go, and I almost didn't go. I was like, man, I don't feel like it. And I shout out to my friend Brianna Hamilton. She was like, y'all, we getting free tickets to Disney World. Y'all need to go and this, that, and other. So that Saturday, we ended up going. It was the best decision I made.
absolutely.
It was, I mean, it was so much fun. I'm a huge baseball fan. Gary Sheffield, Fred McGriff was there. So I had a chance to meet them. And this is when my Orioles were good. And it was at the height of like Chris Davis. So it was good times. Um, but so that like that first time, no, it's nothing like it. And then you
There's
followed up with
definitely not.
Miami, right?
Yes, I did. I was
Now,
there in the 305.
yeah, I'm gonna say, I'm like, all right, I know I've met you in my just making sure I ain't
Oh,
going crazy. Um, just what was your like? Did you have more confidence going into
oh,
that one?
absolutely. I felt like I belonged instead of being a young kid on the outside looking in.
Mhm.
The fact that it was Miami helped a little bit, because who doesn't love Miami? And I have an actual connection with the city of Miami. My sports fandom is very spread out. Like I'm a huge Heat fan and have been
I
since
know.
Dwayne Wade got drafted.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, there's nothing to be sorry about. We weren't supposed to
No,
get where we got, and Jimmy. His name is Jimmy G Buckets,
Now,
and the G stands
I
for
was able to
get.
give him his respect afterwards. Like, of course, I was hating on him, but man, he made us sweat. If you're a Laker fan, you say he didn't make you sweat, you lying. Between it was two players, two and a half of Damian Lillard, but definitely Jimmy Buckets and Jamal Murray, because those guys was just
Yes,
like, stop them, you know. But so you got a chance to go there and be at Wade's house.
absolutely in Wade County,
Mhm.
and the whole place. For one, it was warm, and being warm just makes me feel at home, like the Texas guy I am. Like in Detroit, they complained that it was hot. It was 85 degrees, and all I could say in very Kobe fashion, soft. You don't
Yeah.
you don't know hot. Back home it's 105 degrees and we walk around like it's nothing because we don't have a choice.
Mhm.
And Miami, it made me feel it felt more compressed. Like this hotel was a little easier to navigate than Detroit. So I felt like I could really go where I wanted to go
You was
without
in the
having to
host
be
hotel?
new. That
Okay, yeah,
thing's
but
that place sold out in 10 minutes.
I
I had
I
no
I know.
chance.
I wasn't there either, but shout out to my millennial media mavens, Ashley, Renee, and Kelsey. We was all in the same like hotel building. And so it made it easier to carpool. And then Brandon, he was across the hotel across the street. So we
Uh,
was able to like travel, pretty much stay together.
my chapter, we actually got an Airbnb not too far away.
That was smart.
So yeah, that's what a lot of people were saying. Like their chapters weren't organized enough to get that. And all I think of is we're not chapter mates. Like we're all friends. Like this is what we do.
Hmm.
We have to kick each other out of each other's apartment sometimes because it's 3 in the morning. Y'all gotta go. I'm trying to go to sleep.
But see, our first one was sort of like that. Um, Shout out to one of the founders, Dwayne Wickham. He paid for all the paying and all the paying student members to go. And for those of us who were students, or for me in my case, and a couple of my friends who had just graduated, because it was also his first year at Morgan. So he
Mhm.
wanted us to really understand the purpose and the benefit of going to the conference. So he paid for our registration. We just had to get there. And we got there, he went ahead and we so a few of us shared a room and we was able to stay, thank goodness, at the resort in Orlando. And it was fun, man. But like you said, just having that organization, and we all for the most part hung together, except times when we split and network. But definitely like at Disney World and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And Miami just gave us the feel of I wasn't the new kid on the block. I have some my feet on the ground. Me and the region 3 director at the time, he remembered me from Detroit and from Atlanta. Another reason to go to your regional conference. And the whole thing just went so much smoother as than Detroit was because I'm not a rookie anymore. I have a
Right.
year under my belt and I understand things a little better. And the number one thing I understand now, there's no such thing as sleep.
That's the
You
truth.
you get your naps in when you can, but there's no sleep for NABJ. There's no time.
Hmm. It's almost like you said, between the lobby and then you go take a quick nap, then you up at like 6 to get ready for the day, and
Mhm.
hopefully you can find a session that's got a breakfast, especially if you
Of
want to go to
course.
ESPN breakfast, which is always good. You want to find something with a breakfast though, and then
Absolutely.
you like, okay, so which one of these sessions got lunch, or which one of these sessions got food or something, and then there's the nightlife. And see, like
Uh, uh,
Orlando, we only went out, like we only left the conference, the area, that Friday night to
mm,
go to a party. But New Orleans and Miami, it was a party off uh hotel area, like every night.
every night.
And it was like, wow, this is crazy.
The first night we were there, there was a big part. There was a party at a club, and I do not remember the name of it.
Which was
And
your
this
first
was
night
I got there on opening day
on in
in
Orlando? I
Miami.
mean Miami.
No, I don't remember, but I do remember
Did you go to
it
the
was
boat party?
the no. I did not go to the
Yeah,
boat
that was on
party.
my birthday. So I was, man, what?
Uh, See, they were giving away tickets to the boat party at the Region 3 caucus, and
Hmm.
one of my chapter, actually my former chapter president, she won them. I was like, I
Yeah.
can't take that away from you, Lex. You win.
The
I'm gonna let you have it.
the first time it was when they first sold them, it was $150 for
Yes, sir.
VIP, $75 for the regular tickets. So I said to my wife, I said, look, we only gonna get the regular tickets. Then something happened, they dropped the price. But then they're like, okay, well, we got to figure out how can we compensate. No, it was $100, I think, or 125, but they figured out something. But yeah, I had a ball. But yeah, I know it was a boat party the Wednesday night. Thursday was the party that was like in that hole in the wall. That was, I don't know if you went to that one, and it was real
I
tight
think I
getting in.
did. I
Yeah,
want to say I did.
and the line was super long for no reason, and it was taking forever to let us in. And then obviously the
Yeah,
sports task force party, which I tell everybody they
which
gotta
is
go to.
which is the best one to
It's
get
the main event
into.
every year. It's the main event. This one was better than New Orleans though. New Orleans, it was in a smaller space. The VIP wasn't even great, but this one it was more spread out.
See, I can say the one in Detroit, that one is undefeated
Oh
still
yeah, okay.
With Jamal on stage rapping the international players anthem. It doesn't get better than that.
I knew I wanted to go to that one. I found out later. It was too late by the time I found out. My manager was like, "Oh, you could have went," but I knew that they was gonna roll out the red carpet because she was from Detroit. I was like, "Oh, they gonna book this," as we say, but they gonna throw the book at her for this one.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the highlights and slight aggravations for me that day in Detroit, I met Isaiah Thomas
Mhm.
and like the old bad
Yeah, I
boys
know
Mr.
you.
Isaiah
Yeah,
Thomas.
we talking
So
Detroit, of course.
of course, so in my mind, through my years of watching and knowing and studying basketball, they referred to him as a smaller guard. So I'm thinking Isaiah Thomas has got to be 5'10, 5'9. That kind of just adds to his allure of greatness.
Mhm.
And then I meet him and we're the same height. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. When did this happen? This is not what I was told. And I instantly text my dad, who was a really good basketball player in his own right. He was a McDonald's All American. And he texts me back, yeah, you didn't know Isaiah was about 6'1, 6'2? No, they always called him small. How am I supposed to know this? No,
Mhm.
no one explained this to me. I feel gypped, run it, run amok, led astray, all of it.
Oh man. Um so let's talk about your career though. So you did you get right into advertising, or
So
like how did you go about that?
I'm in a very weird media mix, you could say.
Yeah, I can see, from associate producer, board operator, copywriter, you've done it
Yeah,
all.
I it was all from necessity. After graduating, it was hard to find a job. So
Mhm,
I interned for the same station that I eventually became a board operator for
mhm,
because I was working with their most popular sports show, the Normandy Invasion on DFW's The Ticket. So I was working there, and I eventually text the person who I had my internship one day, said, "Hey, can I come sit in on the show?" He was like, we love you. You can come in anytime. So I thought, great. And I applied for the board op job multiple times, never heard anything back. So me being the blunt, upright person I am, my strategy was I'm gonna go watch the show, and then I'm just gonna go upstairs and talk to whoever I need to talk to about, hey, this job still says it's open. I want it. Someone needs to talk to me. Obviously, my plan was not a good one, but none of my plans are ever good. So I had to try anyway. So the guy who's in charge of my internship said, "You do know they don't have a front desk up there." Oh, no one told me that. So he said, "Hold on a second." And he went up there, came back down and said, "You have an interview Wednesday." Cool. So I went in with my interview. I guess I had a good interview and they gave me the job. And that's how that happened.
Hmm.
And from that, about a month later, I started my own podcast.
Right. Now, when did you decide like you wanted the podcast, and how have you been able to stay consistent? Because I know, and you know, a lot of people say, I want to do a podcast. This is what I want to
Mhm.
do. Oh, hey man, I think I'm gonna start a podcast. And it'd be people who never even sat in a classroom with
Never
media.
touched a mic, never looked at a mic.
Exactly. But they just want to have something to say. And they start a podcast. They tell you, they give you the name, they get it on Apple, and then 2 weeks, a day, it's gone. One episode. When did
Yep.
you decide that this is what you want to do? And did you plan it out on how you was going to make sure you stay consistent?
Okay. So it started probably 2 months before it started. Me and my boys were just hanging out, chopping it up, talking about sports and random things like we always do. And then my friend Coop just said, "We should start a podcast." And then that was obviously like the talk you're saying. People talk about it all the time and no one follows through. Then I thought, I can do this. I know how to edit. I know my way around the audio. And
Mhm.
most importantly, I know a space where we can do it. So there was this facility in Grand Prairie in the city where I'm from called the Epic. Now, the Epic is, by their definition, a recreation center on steroids. Like,
Okay.
they have everything. They have typical rec stuff. But oh, by the way, they have a multi-million-dollar recording studio and a radio booth in there.
Mhm.
And the Epic had been open for a little over like 6 months when I got there, and no one had touched that radio room. But it had the mics, it had the board, it had the computers. Only thing that was missing was someone to hook it up and someone with some software. And I was that guy with the software. So I asked the manager of the arts and music department who would be put in charge of it, "Hey, I know what I'm doing. Can I use this?" And he said yes, because I gave him the most invaluable personal speech that no one else could ever give him. And it went as such: "I'm your cousin. I know what I'm doing. Let's go." So he let me in the studio and I got to putting things together. He I had to technically work for the Epic, which was fine. It was extra money. So I showed him and some of the other art staff, "Hey, this is how you record in here. This is how you adjust your levels. This is how you turn that mic off and this mic on." So I did all of that work. And then I brought my boys in and said, "This is the show. This is how we're going to do it. And we're all going to have fun and make sure we do this on a consistent basis. There's no excuse. We all have the time, we all have the place, and we all have to put forth the effort."
Wow, that's amazing, man. What's been your favorite part about the podcast?
My favorite part is probably pushing myself to be more creative every week, because I don't always see myself as the most creative person. I'm a very linear thinker in a sense, but I'm
Mhm.
also wild and wacky and goofy. So I have to kind of mix the two together to say, we did that last week. What can we do better this week? How can we adjust to some things that aren't working out the way we thought they would? So that's kind of my thought process on it. And my friends are very willing to listen. And because we're actual friends, not just people who decided to talk on the mic together, they have no problem telling me, "Hey, bro, this is stupid. I don't think this is working. We can't do that. We shouldn't do that. And even though they understand I have final say at the end,
Mhm.
they're not afraid to give their input. And I'm gladly going to take their input because I'm not perfect. I'm not a genius. I know I don't know everything. And sometimes we, in the professional sense, look at things as a professional and not as our audience. Our audience aren't experts in audio. They're not journalism majors. They don't really know why you have to do blind leads and why you can't say things of that nature, but they understand what's entertaining, what's not. And if our whole point is to entertain, well, we should probably listen to them.
That is true, man. Are you in the Black Podcasters group on Twitter?
Twitter, I don't think so.
Let me throw you in there because, you know, it's just another great networking opportunity and just allows people, you know, everybody will come in there and share their podcast links. So, you know, we try to retweet each other's stuff so that we can you know, help support, and it's always an opportunity, you know, to build the audience as well. Um what would you say when you sit back and you think about everything? What would you say was your glass breaking moment when you realize, hey, I'm pretty good at what I do?
Episode 8.
Okay.
Episode 8 specifically, it's titled Haters Wanna Hate. And it's definitely spelled H number 8 ERS because I implement the number episode in the title for every episode just because Apple Podcasting made me mad and I had to find a creative way to put the episode number.
Hmm.
So our glass breaking moment was that I figured out, hey, I'm not doing a good job with some background noise. So I took a whole week watching YouTube videos and asking people and listening to people, hey, how do I do this? And I learned how to get that background noise because our studio had a terrible echo in it. And that to this day is our most listened to episode. It's at like 150, where we average about 60 or so. So that just made me feel okay, we're getting through this. This is something not only I can do, that we can do. And I'm stubborn and I never feel like I'm achieving anything. So I kept saying, I want to achieve more. I need more. I want to best myself.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Um, Now before we get out of here, you working with the CW network
Yes, I am.
as account executive. Can you talk about that?
So an account executive is a very interesting job. So it's essentially you call on local businesses and you look up local businesses and you try to get them on TV.
Mhm.
You tell them, "Hey, I want you guys to do better because these are local people. These are not multi-million, multi-billion dollar corporations. These are mom and pop shops down the street." So we say, "Hey, we can get you on TV. It's not as expensive as you think, and it'll help your business and help you grow as owners and people." And I kind of take a lot of joy in that because I see myself as the little guy. I feel like I'm the underdog in what I do in life. So if I can help out the underdog, why not?
Oh man. You just gave me a title for this episode too. The underdog helping the underdog. But before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find you.
You can find us on all streaming platforms, wherever you get your podcast, of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast. Anything you can think of, we're on there. We are the D1 Ignite University podcast. Come get your laughs, come get some sports, and just come see of all the wackiness and the ignorance that puts forth every episode. If you don't want to listen to it, just read the description that I make of every episode, and I promise you'll be interested.
Oh man, JB, I really appreciate you taking the time out your busy schedule to come on from one podcaster to another podcast. This is fun, man. You know, and I know for me, so I do everything out of my home, it's therapy a lot of times. I've told my wife that, I was like, man, it's a lot of stuff just burning me out. So maybe you need to let go of some stuff. I was like, well, the podcasting part is actually therapy. It's easy,
Mhm.
as I get ready for the wrestling show that I gotta record too. So but I created this one because I would looked at life, and one day I was thinking, you've seen it, you being an NABJ, you're surrounded by excellence. And
Mhm.
I was like, I'm connected to a lot of great people. I want to share this network with the world. So I appreciate you allowing me to, continue to share this network with the world.
And I'm happy that you let an underdog like myself, who's not overly accomplished like the rest of NABJ yet. Magic word. Yet.
Hey man, you are accomplished because you're a black man living in America doing positive things. So keep it up, man.
And that's the only way to go. Positive just means up. And I have no interest of ever coming down.
There you go. All right, folks, that is the conclusion of this week's episode. Next week, you heard some of the conversation already if you listened to Breaking Through Glass Ceilings with Uncomfortable Conversations as we discuss the importance of voting. However, if you haven't, go check that out right now. I bring on John Gervais. John and I work together at ESPN. I consider him an OG of mine when it comes to this business, somebody who I learned a lot from. And he comes on to discuss his journey. You want to listen to somebody who's going to talk about what it's like to cover the Super Bowl live and in person, cover the NBA Finals. This is the episode, folks. So make sure you tune in next week. And remember, subscribe to the podcast, tell your friends to subscribe, and do not let anybody sell a ceiling that you can't break through. This podcast was recorded and edited by B Waters Productions. The music by Hypno Beats. Make sure you follow him at Hypno_Beats with a Z on Instagram.